Hello, everyone out there. How is everyone doing on this Wednesday? I hope you guys are doing well in your neck of the woods. I know here in Florida, it's a little chilly. Kind of caught us by surprise. We're not used to the chill. But it is time for the Ella Johnson Show. This is Real Talk TV, where you can be on TV and talk real. Now, I just have to tell you guys, tonight's show is something that, just tugs at your heartstrings because I have daughters. I have four, in fact. And so many people that are watching this broadcast, you too have daughters and your children. And I just, for a moment, want you to imagine what it could be like if someone called you and said, your child is no longer with us. Someone took their life, their innocence, and you're having to deal with that. Well, my guest tonight, that is exactly what she had to deal with, getting that phone call about her daughter. But she is an incredible woman, and I can't wait for you guys to meet her, hear her story. She is a mama on a mission. I'm telling you, but I'm just going to say this for the record. I personally think that the system failed her, but she is here. Melanie is here for the Ella Johnson Show to share her story. Hello, Melanie.
Hi.
How are you? Don't you look so pretty?
Well, thank you. You as
I do.
well.
Yeah, thank you, sweetie. I love that color on you. I think it really compliments you. But
Thank
I
you.
am excited that you're here tonight. I want everybody to get to know you. You're a mom, two daughters,
Yes.
Madison and Caitlynne. Caitlynne, of course, has taken her wings to
Yes.
be with God, and you also have two precious grandbabies that are also in heaven. But you also have a granddaughter, Alexis, and now you're basically raising her. So you're mom and grandmom to her,
Yes.
and you are dedicated. You have dedicated your life now to making sure that no other woman or man goes through what Caitlynne had to go through by pushing through the legislation, Caitlynne's Law.
Yes,
Welcome.
absolutely. Thank you.
Welcome to the Ella Johnson Show. Everybody, give her a good welcome and support. You need support from all of us tonight to share your story. And I just want to let you know that I know that it can't be easy, sweetie.
No.
What you have to share with us about Caitlynne and what happened. But just know you're helping people. And
Yes.
I'm proud of you for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
How's the weather there?
My sister lives actually by you. My sister lives in Lakeland. So she was on the
Oh,
phone with me earlier. I was outside and she was telling me it was pretty chilly. I think it's a little chillier there where y'all are than it was here. The
oh my
mornings are
goodness.
chillier, but the day was beautiful. I mean, it was so beautiful.
Yeah, it kind of is just a shock to our system. We're not used to that.
Yes.
I'm just like, come on. I have a coat and I'm wearing it. Never. But I am just so glad and thrilled that you're here. How are the kids? Where's Madison? I thought she was going to
She's
join
right here
us for the
next to
first
me.
part.
She's
Hi, Madison. How are
Hi.
you?
Good.
You're always welcome to the Ella Johnson Show. Just say hello to everybody.
Okay.
Isn't she just as purty as she could be?
She
You
is. She's
guys are
just
a
like her
beautiful
sister.
family.
She's
Yeah.
her sister's twin.
Well, so are you. She's your twin as well.
I know. I'm very blessed that I have very strong DNA. So I have very strong
Yes,
genes.
yes,
Because both my
yes.
girls that look just like me, and it's always been a funny joke because I tell people they're 8.5 years apart. They have two different dads, and yet they both look exactly like me.
Oh, wow. Well, we want to get to know a little bit more about Caitlynne tonight. Caitlynne has, she was killed, but let's go all the way back to the beginning. Let's talk about Caitlynne a little bit. Let's bring her to the broadcast. Tell everybody about her and what she was like as a mom, as a daughter, as a sister. We want to get to know her a little bit.
Yes. Well, Caitlynne she came into this world making a huge impact because she pretty much set a record at the hospital for being the biggest baby ever born. She came out, I was 2 weeks over with her, and she came out of me. She was 11 pounds, 1.5
Ooh,
ounces, 23 and a quarter inches long.
ooh. Were you able to walk afterwards?
No, well, let's just say I had a
Oh.
C-section.
Oh, okay.
So I had a C-section, so thank God for that. But
Right.
she came into this world beautiful. I mean, even the doctor said she was the most beautiful big baby, because if they're that big, they're usually kind of squunched and come out like kind of discolored and not very, But he said she's just perfect, and she was. She was all
Aw.
cheeks. She came out with black curly hair. I mean, cheeks. I mean, just chubby cheeks. She reminded me of the Ann Getty's babies, like in the Ann Getty's calendars, all the cute little fat babies. So that's what I used to say. But she was just beautiful. I mean, she was beautiful inside and out. She was not like me. Like, I'm the extrovert, social butterfly. Well, she was like her dad. Her dad was an introvert. To himself, like, not a real sociable person, like, just not like me. And so she used to always laugh at me, and she would tell me, Mom, don't worry, your next kid's gonna be the cheerleader. She's gonna be that bubbly one like you.
Wow.
I used to like you because I wanted her to get like cheerleading, and I wanted her to do this. And every time I would say introduce things to her, she was like, it's not for me. It's not for me. And I'm like, okay, she's like, it's okay, Mom. And it's funny because Madison was born, and Madison is exactly like me. So, but she was perfect in every way, though. She was, such a loyal friend. She kept a small group of friends, but she was so loyal to those friends. I mean, they were, super close to her friends. And she was the most compassionate person I had ever met. I mean, it made me so proud, because I would see her, go above and beyond, for people, go out of her way for just strangers. And as a mom, you just go, oh, like, like, it just made me so proud. She was such a good person. I mean, she was just an all in all, very kind, just very, just gave back,
Yeah.
And I think we had been through so much. And I was telling somebody this the other day, we had been through so much. I was a single mom. It was just me and her from the time she was, like 3.5 until her sister was born, which they were an 8.5-year gap. And we had, I was young. I was a young mom. I was, I had her at like right after I turned 21. And so, and she liked that. She used to always be like, yeah, I like having a young mom. Like, I like, my other friends, like, their parents are old, Mom. Like, you're cool. And, but,
oh, wow.
But having a baby young, I mean, I was still a baby. I mean, I was still growing. And
How old were you? How old were you?
I was, when I had her, I'm 43. I'll be 44 next month. So I had her when I was 21.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and me and her dad married when I was 19. Had her at 21, and then we were, separated onto divorce at, like by the time we were like 25. So, totally different people. I mean, by the time, you know what I'm saying? Like, you go from 18 to 25, you're just different people. I mean,
right.
But I was like any young mom, and we had our ups and we had our downs, and we had, we went through a lot. I mean, we went through a lot of, a lot of struggles, and it was just me and her. So we experienced all that together. She
Absolutely.
was my best friend. She was she was it. I mean, it was just me and
everything.
Her. We were a
Sounds
team.
like it.
I mean, and there was nothing she didn't know. She could read my mind. I mean, she could finish my sentences. I mean, I couldn't get away with anything with her. I mean, it was like, I'd be sitting in the car pretending like I was, just in this greatest mood, and she just look at me and be like, Mom, just stop. I know what you're thinking. Like, I know, stop, just get it. I know you're obsessing over something. And like, and I just couldn't get by with anything with her.
Yeah.
But,
so, fast forwarding a little bit, at some point she met Alex.
She did.
And because you guys were so close, I gathered that just from our conversations. What did you think when you first met him?
When I first met him, I had thought he was amazing. I thought he was in the very beginning, it wasn't
very
long
beginning
before I got red flags, but like from the moment I met him, he actually asked me before they officially kind of started dating. He actually came to me and asked permission, to date her. Like he had
Wow.
said, yeah, he told me he was about to like join the military, but he met her and now he's like, you know, rethinking and he wants to see where it's going to go with them first. I mean, he was telling me, you know, I'm thinking this guy was about to go in the military and serve his country. Like, you know, he's asking permission to
She
date my
has found the
daughter.
one, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was very charming.
Mm.
He definitely put on the, you know, the all the right things to say. And the same with her. I mean, he, you know, he put on the charm, said and did everything that any woman would want and from a man. I remember her telling me, I remember being on the phone with her and her telling me, Mom, I'm just not used to this. I've never been with a guy that treated me so good. Like, you know, I mean,
Wow.
she was really, he did everything right in the beginning. I mean, everything right. And,
That changed.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
It quickly changed.
Quickly.
The relationship moved very fast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, within a few months, they had each other's names tattooed on their arms.
Oh.
Which of course I freaked out. I'm a tattooed person. I don't mind the tattoos, but you don't put someone's name all up your arm, especially someone that you don't even know. So I remember that night vividly because I just freaked out and I'm like, come here, Caitlynne. I'm like, you don't even know this guy. Like, you know, I know you think that you're head over heels for this guy. I know you think you're going to spend the rest of your life with them, but really you don't know. It's been 2 months. Like, you know, I mean, so they got tattoos. They moved in together. I mean, it was so fast. It was like boom, boom, boom. And then before I know it, she's pregnant.
Uh-oh.
And yeah. So, they, you know, and we'd already started seeing some red flags. Like my parents saw it first. They have that true God-given gift of discernment. And
what are those red flags? What do you mean? What were they?
The red flags that, oh gosh, that they never left each other's side. I mean, they were together 24/7.
Oof.
He didn't work. He immediately she should, we warned her not to let him know that she had some money from her dad passing, and it was not long at all before she had gotten a lump sum of money and everything. I mean, he had a new phone, he had a new watch. He went and got a car. Like, he went and ran an errand and like came back and he had a new car, like with her debit card. I mean, it was like crazy stuff like that. Like, I mean,
did he work?
That was when she was pregnant that happened. That was when, no, he didn't work. The entire relationship that they were together, he only worked maybe a total of 3 weeks, but every job, it was always something. It was like a weekend and he'd be fired, or a weekend he would, you know, something always happened. He would only work because I was on her case so much about it. And it was just to pacify me, I think, because I was so on her case. I'm like, he needs to work. He needs to work. Like, he needs to be supporting you. She supported him the entire relationship, and she didn't buy anything for herself. And it just drove me crazy because it's like, it was all about him. And like, I felt like she bought her own wedding ring. I mean, she bought his wedding rings, everything. And I was giving her clothes. You know, I was out buying her clothes and giving her my clothes, because everything, all the money was spent on supporting them and him and his wants. And it just broke my heart. But I'm sure. So we saw the fact that he wasn't working. Okay. They were always together. He was very jealous, very, very jealous. He immediately started isolating her from her friends, like, you know, the small circle that she had. When we would call her phone, he would answer, which was really weird. And I thought, why is it every time we call, like, he's answering your phone? And then she would never, ever be able to talk to me without being on speaker. He had to know everything that was being said. Like, the only time we ever talked by ourselves was whenever he was not around. Like, if he had left the apartment or left the house, and she was like, okay, Mom, if I hurry up and hang up, it's because he came in. You know? Oh my goodness. So there was a lot of red flags, but I'll tell you, the biggest red flag, and this is when I knew all of our, like, because, you know, in the beginning, when you start having those red flags, you're like, is it because I had been in so many toxic relationships? So I'm looking for, like, everything to me is like, oh my gosh, like, this is a sign. This is a sign. but it wasn't until it's like it solidified my feelings that I knew something was wrong with him. Like I knew there was it was like the narcissism, when I got a phone call from her one day that he had killed their cat. Like her kittens were her babies. I mean, I'm talking, she loved cats. Like I used to call her the cat lady. She loved her kittens. They were her babies. And before she had Alexis, before she was pregnant, that was her baby. And so they had gotten a kitten, and she called me in the middle of the day one day and was like, Mom, like he killed the cat. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I was like, are you what? And she was like, yeah. And I said, and I, of course, there's no excuse for ever killing a cat. But I'm thinking to myself, like, was he drunk? Like, did y'all get in a fight? Like, like what led up to that, Caitlynne? Like, I mean, surely, like, what in the world? Like, what would cause him to do that? Like, and like, what was his logic? Like, and she's like, Mom, that's what's so crazy is like, there was nothing. She was like, it was fine. She was like, I walked out of the bedroom. She's like, I walked down the stairs and I heard the cat yelp. And I walked back in the bedroom and the kid like bashed the cat's face in. And like, and this little kitten. And she said it was like out of the blue, like in the middle of the day, no, like nothing. And I just thought, I said, and I remember it that day telling her, Caitlynne, people who kill cats kill people. And she was pregnant with Alexis at the time. And I remember telling her, like, if he can do that to a cat, what do you think he's going to do to your child? Or what do you think he's going to do to you? If he's capable of doing that to an animal, he is capable of killing someone.
So what was her response to that?
Well, she defended him, and she was like, he apologized, and he's, and he feels really bad, and he feels embarrassed, and it was very hush hush because she actually got upset with me because Madison had overheard and us on the phone. And so when Madison got upset about it and told Caitlynne something, they got upset with me because they thought I told her. And I'm like, I didn't tell Madison. So it was this big deal. Alex got really mad and turned it all around on us. And like, we were like, going to judge him. And I'm like thinking, well, who wouldn't? But I mean, and so of course, in order to keep that open relationship with Caitlynne, we kind of had to respect, like, I was like, I warned her, I told her, but at the same time, she's defending him. She's saying, oh, he's never been violent before. It's, I don't know. He said he's sorry. He doesn't know what got into him. So she just kept making excuses for him. And of course, we're in the back of our mind, not okay. And
did she show any sign that maybe at this point she's like, Mom, I kind of want to do something? Was she fishing for your advice? Or was she just at this point, look, I love this man. I've never had anyone like him. I'm not going anywhere. I don't like what he's doing, but I'm not going anywhere. Is that what you
at this point, there was no signs that she was unhappy at all. I mean, like, there was no signs of any abuse. There was no signs, like, other than, like I said, the jealousy stuff and like the little narcissism and just there was a few red flags, but that was when we knew he was violent. I mean, that was when we knew that this is more than just, the red flags that we saw, that this was big, and I couldn't let it go. I mean, and so it wasn't long. That was when she had Alexis, in November 29th, Alexis was born. And it was, cause she was late in her pregnancy. I'm pretty sure when that happened. And then it wasn't until February when I got a phone call that she was, she said, Mom, it was like 1 a.m. I was at work. I was working overnight. And she said, I'm just letting you know that I'm in the car with Pawpaw. He came and picked me up from the house because Alex and me got in a fight and he took it too far this time. And at this point,
what did that mean? He took it too far.
At this point, I had no idea that he'd ever been violent with her before. So I was just floored. I was like, what do you mean he took it too far this time? So then she sent me a picture and her face was so swollen. She could barely open her eyes. It looked like her nose was broke. I mean, she was black and blue. And she had just taken a shower. She said this was because there was so much blood. I took a shower, but she looked awful. I mean, it broke me. I mean, it just, like, everything that you fear, everything that I've been telling her, everything I thought, could happen was happening. And did happen. And so I'm just like, you have to press charges. It has to be over, Caitlynne. Like, it has to be, like, you cannot go back to him after this. Like, you have to see that this is, like, very dangerous. And oh gosh, it wasn't I couldn't find anybody to come in for me. So my mom ended up bringing her to the ER. And in those moments, like, for a few hours, she was telling me, like, she was going to press charges. Well, my mom ended up calling me. They had just gotten results back that she was pregnant in the ER that day, and so, that night. And so I knew in my heart, I was like, please, God, tell me that you're still pressing charges. Like, this doesn't change anything, Caitlynne. Like, this doesn't change anything. Like, you still need to leave him. Like, you still need to press charges. And she's like, Mom, I need you to stop. She was like, I'm not going to press charges. She said, because I don't want to damage his record. I just can't do that to him. Like, it's over. I'm not, but I just don't want to hurt his record. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So, and I just was so upset, but at the same time, but I'm believing that she's leaving him, and that we're going to keep her safe, and she's going to come, back to the house. And we had the baby. And so everything was, I thought was going to be okay. And well, it wasn't even it was like the next day at like 11 in the morning. Like, she slept. And then as soon as she woke up, she came over and she was like, cause my parents lived next door. She was at my parents' house cause I had worked all night. So she walked over here after she woke up, and she said, she just looked at me, and I just started crying. I can read her mind just like she could read mine. And I knew she was taking him back. And she just looked at me, and I just started crying. And I said, please, please, please tell me that you're not going back. And she's like, he's on his way to pick me up.
What was her reason?
He promised her the world. He promised her that he was going to get help. He promised her it wasn't him, that it was, he just made all the promises. He was going to go, do this, and he was going to do that. And they were going to get therapy, and they were, he promised her the world. And she kept telling me, Mom, but I know that he can change, and we're young, and I know that that she had such a giving heart, and I think she just wanted to be loved, and she didn't want to be a single mom, and she was pregnant again, and then she said, Mom, I don't want to be single mom. Like, I think that we'll get through this, and and I think he'll change. And she just kept convincing herself that, and she saw the man that she fell in love with. Like, she saw that person. She didn't.
But he didn't change.
No.
Happened again.
Oh no, it happened again. And that was February, and they actually did separate again after he had an episode at a restaurant. She called me up to come get her because he was way, way, way too drunk to drive, and he was trying to force her in the vehicle. He almost ran her over. He manhandled her. She called me to come get her. Me and my friend went and got her from the restaurant. And that same day, we come home, and we went to where he was, where they were living, which was at his parents' house at the time. We went to go grab Caitlynne's stuff, and we see the truck, which at the time I was in the process of selling them. Like, so it was my truck and her truck. I mean, it was already given to her. I just hadn't sent the title over yet. So, but they were, Alex used it. I mean, that's what he used, but it was wrecked. It was, completely wrecked. The police were there. He had gotten into a hit and run. He had, gotten into a wreck and left the scene, and also got a DWI that day. Well, yeah. So we were talking to the police, and the police came over here, and they were telling Caitlynne, like, do you know that we get calls like this, like, all the time, like this? You need to leave him. Like, this is because I was trying to tell the cop, like, I was telling him all what had happened, and like what happened in February. And he's like, this is going to end very badly for you if you don't leave him. Now,
this is very important. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but this is very important right here. The police, they were encouraging her to leave him, but did they give her any type of strategy of what she could do, that she can file this, she can file that, get a temporary restraining order? I mean, did they give her any advice on that end, or they just say you need to leave?
No, they were just kind of having like a heart to heart, saying that like she really just needed to leave the situation. Like she needed to leave him, but they didn't give her any like tools or anything that day. Like, but it was, I just remember sitting on the outside steps of my house and having that conversation with the cops, and I was telling her, like, even they're telling you, like, it's not just me being your mom, being a mom. Like, I mean, they're telling you, like, that they see this every day, like that, that you're going to end up dead. Like, and I constantly kept telling her, because, she separated from him after that day with the hit and run and the DWI. He got arrested. She moved in with me. So she had left him.
So that's good.
He got out on a PR bond. He got out.
This is the first one.
Yeah. And this is his second DWI. He had one before he met Caitlynne. So he had the second DWI in this hit and run, and they gave him a personal recognizance bond, which, for people who don't know what that is, you're just signing a piece of paper saying that you're going to show up to court. I mean, there's no money involved, none at all, no accountability. You're just, see ya. I mean, it's like nothing.
And we're going to talk about that a little later after we talk about, we have to talk about that.
It's huge.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And so they gave him a PR bond. He got out. And at the time, I didn't even know he had gotten a PR bond. It wasn't until after her murder that I even realized I thought someone bonded him out that day. Well, I found out it was a PR bond.
Right.
So anyways, so she's left him. She stays with me for about a month. She was staying with me, but against my wishes and against everything I wanted for her. I mean, and I can't tell you how many times myself, my parents, her best friend, just were telling her, like, because we would find out, like, that she had talked to him on the phone, or we'd find out that they wanted to go meet it, down the road at the park, or, they were basically trying to do stuff behind my back.
And let me ask you a question, Melanie. Did you think at this point he's going to kill my daughter? Did you feel that? You did?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I remember she did take him back. Because she found out she was pregnant with her third pregnancy. And she told me we were out to eat. We were out to eat at a restaurant, me and Madison and her. And I just remember her looking at me and saying that she was pregnant. Now, they were separated. She was living with me, but they were behind my back, like meeting, I guess hanging out or whatever. And I just immediately started crying. And I was just oh God, here we go again. I'm like, please, 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 please tell me that you know better than to take him back now. Like, please. And I just started crying. And she's like, yeah, Mom, I'm giving him one more chance. And I remember telling her, I remember at the exact moment, I said, Caitlynne, don't you understand that there's not going to be any more chances? He's going to end up killing you. I said, when are you going to realize that one chance is going to be too much? Like, you're going to end up dead. And she was just like, Mom, I just don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Like, let me do it. It's my life. I'm an adult. Let me make my decisions. She did not want to hear it. And she just, and I had to, and I remember one night, before she left, I know that she was just, the more I pushed, the more she would pull away. And so I had to be very careful. So I remember going into the room, knowing that she was about to take off with him. And I said, I know you made me promise that I wasn't going to bring it up again, but I'm your mother, and you'll understand, one day that I cannot sleep. I cannot lay my head on my pillow unless I get this out. And I was like, what you're doing is not okay. Like, you're putting yourself in danger. You're putting Alexis in danger. Like, I know you see the good in him. I know that you think you love him. I know that you think he loves you. And I was like, but I'm telling you, this is not going to end well. Like, this is not safe. Like, and please, 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 like, rethink this. And she went back, and they got an apartment together, and he moved her far away. Like, they were literally 5 minutes from my house before. And now he's moved her to Pasadena, which is like 45 minutes from my house. And she didn't drive. So I knew, and I told her, don't think for a second that I don't know what he's doing. He's isolating you from us.
Right.
He knows that we're the ones that are trying to get you away from him. So now I can't go and rescue you. I can't go and, you can't walk to the house next fight you get in. I can't go save you. It's going to take me 45 minutes to get to you, Caitlynne. I was like, I can't get there fast enough. And
So at this point, did you think that, okay, I have to try something else because she's not listening? Did you, and not saying that most people know this, but did you know if there were any programs available? Did you know that there was maybe a pastor or someone else
oh, we
that
tried. Oh,
may,
I told her everything because I had been in an abusive relationship before, so I knew.
right?
Like, we are involved in a church. Like, I mean, we are, we were members of a church that she loves. I mean, she knew, and she, we found out after the murder was actually a part of several domestic abuse groups on Facebook that actually
Yeah.
we found out from the investigators. I mean, so she was reaching out.
Oh,
And there was a lot more behind the scenes than I even knew about. Here, I knew about what I thought was the worst things, but there was a lot she wasn't telling me. And I think that she was truly living in a pure hell. I mean, and scared, and was not sure what she was going to do. And when they got that apartment, I did have to go and rescue her. I did, like, a few times, and from the abuse, from him like strangling her, or from him just scaring her, and I did drive out there and go and get her a few times, and
so give me an
and
example of what it would be like in some of those times that you would go rescue her. What would you find?
oh, well, he was like a Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, I could tell, like, the look on his face. I mean, it was just evil. I mean, it was just like, just I didn't recognize him. Like, the way he would become when he was angry and in that place, he was just not, just so distant, so ugly, so just I mean, she was pregnant, and and this is right before the murder. Like, I went over to their house to she had a friend staying with them at the apartment that was visiting from Colorado, and her friend is the one that messaged me and asked me to please come get them. That Caitlynne is very scared, and she asked her friends to text me to come get them because he had strangled Caitlynne, and they had put her in the room, wouldn't let her, and basically, like, it was just a really bad situation. And I went to go get her, and I'll never forget. I was trying to get Alexis's stuff, and I had the baby, and he was trying really hard to get the baby from me. And I was like, no. I mean, he was just like, I mean, angry. He had already pushed down in front of me. He had pushed down Caitlynne. She's pregnant. He had pushed her down. So, I mean, I let him have it. And I told him I had 911. I had my phone showing him, if you do one more, I swear, if you touch her again, I'm pressing 911. I'm calling that. But Caitlynne made me promise I wouldn't, but I'm like, I was scared. I was scared for her. I was scared for myself. I was scared for Alexis. So, but yeah, I mean, and it's just like, it was crazy. Like, I mean, we couldn't get to the car fast enough. My heart, I mean, he was just, it was so scary. I mean,
I can imagine. Oh
it
my
was very, very
gosh.
scary. And her best friend, they've been best friends for 10 years, but she's lived in another state for the majority of the past, like, 8 or 9. And so she had never seen it. She had never experienced it. Like, she only knew what Caitlynne was telling her. So when she witnessed it and was there for it, I thought, surely it's not just me now. It's now our best friends on board. And I'm thinking, so I remember us, like, talking, and like, I'm like, hey, now maybe you can talk some sense into her. Like, because she was right back at the apartment then, like, the next day. I mean, she was right back. I mean, and it's like, she just, I mean, she was,
It sounds like he had a serious on her. She was afraid though, because if she had called the cops, it seems like nobody was calling the cops. I mean, you wanted to, obviously, but she made you promise her and you didn't want to lose her. So I can understand the place you were at that point, because you didn't want to lose her. You're like, if he takes her away, I could probably never see her. So you
and
had
he
to
used to
kind of,
threaten all the time. Like, when we would fight, I mean, he would start, like, sending me, like, horrible messages, and, like, he would threaten me, like, you're not going to ever see your grandchild again. You're not going to see Caitlynne. Like, oh, he would always use that over my head. Like, I mean, whenever I would, like, lay into him about the abuse or something, he was just evil. I mean, he was just mean, and he would say, like, ugly things. And then the next day, it's like what he would do to Caitlynne, he'd do to me. He'd text me, like, I don't remember last night, and I'm sorry, and I'm really sorry. Like, I hope I can make it up to, he was just, the I'm sorries, and but I wasn't
Sounds like they're
stupid.
all good at that. Now,
Oh
what I'm
yeah.
going to have you do next, because we are, we have some limited time, but um, this is going to be hard because I know you love your daughter and she is everything to you. I want you to take us to that day, exactly how
Um,
you remember it,
it,
when she was killed.
it was August 3rd. They had only lived in their apartment about a month and a half. She left here when they were separated and took him back, and they were in the apartment. Like I said, about a few times I'd already, went and got her from the apartment and brought her back, and then she went right back. Um, and I got a phone call on the Wednesday. She was murdered on Saturday, August 3rd. The Wednesday before, I got a phone call for her that he was arrested for assault because he had assaulted her the prior Monday. I didn't know about it. She was trying to, again, like keep me kind of in the dark about it because she knew my reaction was going to be. So she was like, I didn't want to tell you, but I need to tell you because I need you to come over because he just got arrested and he killed another one of her cats. And so she needed me to help clean up like the apartment. And so, so he had killed the cat and he assaulted her. And so I was just so proud of her though. I was like, so proud of her. Like, I was like, finally, like, you did it. Like you did it. Like and I knew the fact that she had called the cops, it was really over. Because I knew that was like the last thing she would ever was going to do. I mean, for her to do that was so big. And I was just so proud of her. I just remember that feeling. It was like the best feeling in the world. Like, just to know that, he was being held accountable. And that's what I thought. I thought she was being protected. I thought that's what the police had been begging her to do. That's what I had been begging her to do. And she did it. I mean, she said, it's over. You're not touching me again. I mean, I have messages like I found, from her, like she told him like, we're done. Like from that hotel on that Monday, it was like, it's done. It's over. You're never touching me again. I'm going to come back to the apartment, but it's really over. I'm filing for divorce again. Like, she'd already filed once. She was like, it's over. And so she was really like, she was starting over. And I remember being at her house that Wednesday to help her with the apartment. And I, as a mom, I was proud of her, but I was scared because she was staying in that apartment. And I just begged her to come home with me. And she was like, no, Mom, like, this is my apartment. And she was proud of her apartment. It was her first apartment. She paid for it. It was her place. It was Alexis's first home. She just, not first home, but I mean, it was her first home with just them because they lived with her parents. But she was just proud of it. And she was very strong. I mean, she was very, very strong. And she was, a bit hard-headed. And she didn't want to leave. And she was like, no, like, he's not going to get that from me. Like, this is my apartment. Like, it's, that I'm going to stay here. And so she didn't want to come back with me. So she stayed at the apartment, but I did that Thursday call her and I asked her, like, I knew she was stressed. I knew that it was very emotional. She was pregnant. She had the baby. And I was like, what can I do? I was like, can I come get Alexis from you? She was like, yeah, that would help, Mom. And I said, okay, let me come get Alexis. So I took off work and I went and got the baby and took care of the baby. And that was Thursday. Well, Saturday morning, she was running late to come get the baby. Her mom was her stepmom. I'm her mom. Her stepmom was visiting from Louisiana. And they had come in Friday because she was in fear. I mean, she was scared and she didn't want to come here because she knew, and this is all stuff I found out since the murder, but she knew her best friend and her stepmom both had told me that she was worried about two things, and that was Alexis and me and protecting us. And she knew that if Alex was going to go anywhere looking for her, it was going to be my house first. And so
she was afraid he was going to hurt you and Alexis.
Yes.
Wow.
Or herself, obviously, and Alexis and me. And and so because we were always together, and he couldn't stand me. I mean, he couldn't stand me because I was the biggest advocate for Caitlynne.
Of course,
and I saw through him. And so Saturday morning, I'll always regret, and I'll always look back and wish that I didn't leave when I did. I wish I would have waited 30 minutes because I was trying to get to work and she was running late. And so I had my parents come over and watch the baby just for 30 minutes while I had to go to work. And I look back and I just wish I would have just waited. But my parents got to see her. My parents saw her, and they still cry when they think about it because they said that Saturday morning, she just looked beautiful. They said, Melanie, we hadn't seen her that happy in I mean, it had been a very, very long time. She just had a look of relief, a look of freedom, a look of, I'm happy, I'm starting over. And she was free, and he was in jail. And we all, thought she was being protected. And she told me on the phone, what's crazy is I remember being scared and telling her like that I thought he was going to get out. And she was like, no, Mom, he's facing felony and like 3 misdemeanors. Like no judge is going to let him out. Like she told me that on Thursday. Like, so we in our minds all thought we thought the system was protecting us. Like that's what we thought the system was a good system. Well, I was at work. I went to work that Saturday, and I literally got a phone call from her stepmom telling me that he was out, that she knew he was out. And I went.
Now she knew he was out, meaning Caitlynne knew he was out of jail.
The stepmom told me that they found they at the same time. We don't know. We really don't know, and probably won't until the trial. What all Caitlynne knew, when Caitlynne knew he was out, or if she knew he was out, or when he got out. We only have, we could only speculate. But mm-hmm. I didn't know he was out. The stepmom didn't know. No one close to her. No one knew he was out until the day she was murdered. The day when it happened, because she actually was talking to one of her best friends. She had 2 really good best friends, and one of her best friends she was on the phone with, telling him to call the cops when it was going on. So, but other than that, like I was at work. I was working, and when I got the phone call from the stepmom that they saw him at the apartment and knew that he was out. Like she said that he was out of the apartment. They had Caitlynne lock the apartment. They had Caitlynne, like do not leave the apartment. And they waited to see if he came back around, like to make sure she was safe. And he didn't. And they were going back to Louisiana. They were taking the baby. Well, I found out just recently that this was her ultimate escape plan. Like she had already talked to her stepmom, and she was trying to get that baby, Alexis, sweet Alexis, as far away from the situation and Alex as she could. And I believe it's when she possibly found out Friday that he was getting out, or I think that she went into action. Her stepmom came. She's like, Melanie, that's why we came. Because Caitlynne said, we're coming to Louisiana. Like, we're going to get as far, from Alex. Because she said, and her best friend said, all she was worried about was protecting you and Alexis. Like, and she knew that if she stayed here, he was going to come kill all of us. And so she had her stepmom take Alexis back to Louisiana. And that's when I got the phone call. Because she said, look, I'm just letting you know, we know Alex is out. He was at the apartment. He, and now that we've left the apartment, we're not able to get in touch with Caitlynne. And so I'm freaking out. I already was freaking out because I knew he was out. And within like about 15, 20 minutes, it seems like I'm still trying to figure out, am I going to drive to Pasadena? I can't get in touch with her. Like I was trying to call her, calling my parents in full blown panic. And then I get another phone call that can't get in touch with her. She's not answering her text either. And they just don't know. And they're just like, can you, and I'm like, well, I am too. So we were all just trying to get in touch with her. Well, I told her, I said, well, I know Alex. Alex was, every fight they ever got in, he took her phone from her. I mean, it's a control thing, like, and he would take her phone from her. So I thought, okay, he's beat her up, he's taken her phone. And so I'm going through the motions and going through the thought process, trying to figure out what my next move was going to be. And I was on the phone with my parents, praying to God, like that she was okay. And I get an unknown phone number.
Now tell me about that moment right there when you get this call. You can't get in touch with her. What's your first thought when you saw that phone ringing?
When I saw the unknown number, I don't normally answer unknown numbers, but
Right.
I told my parents when I saw the unknown number, I said, it's an unknown number. I got to answer it. It's probably Caitlynne at a friend's house or a neighbor's house. And that's what I was thinking, was she was using someone else's phone.
Mm-hmm.
So I answered it, and it was it was the medical examiner that they thought I already knew. So the way the conversation, I mean, she was like, is this Melanie Infinger? And I'm like, yes. And she's like, have they contacted you about Caitlynne? And at that moment, I lost it. I knew it. I knew it. And I fell to the ground and I just screamed and I just said, what did he do to my baby? And she said, ma'am, we don't normally do this way. I'm gonna have to call you back. So she didn't even confirm it. She made me wait. She made me sit there and wait to hear that she had passed. And she didn't tell me anything. I had to sit there and wait for her to call me back. And she called me back and she said, I'm so sorry to tell you that your daughter's been stabbed to death.
I know.
She was 17 weeks pregnant. And she said that she was announced, I mean, that she passed at the medical center. And you know, your world just stops. Everything, I just felt like it wasn't real. And it still doesn't feel real. It's still so surreal. I feel like I'm living, you know, in like a movie or a Dateline episode, or, you know, I'm like, this doesn't happen to us. Like, you know, and as much as I knew he was capable of it, did I really think that it was going to happen? Of course you don't. I mean, I was a woman of God. I thought, you know, my babies were being protected. Like, I didn't think that would ever happen to us. And so yeah, so it was awful. My world stopped. I went numb. I was in denial. I was in shock. I was at work. No one was with me. I was totally by myself at work. And I called my dad, and I told them, and I didn't know what else to do. I ran outside and I got in my car and I just drove, and I pulled off the side of the road, and they met me where I was, because I
can imagine.
I was just on autopilot. I was just in total disbelief. Yeah. Like, this is like I was living in a nightmare. And but you know, once all that kind of, you know what I'm saying, kind of settled a little bit, and I was so angry because I wanted to know who let him out, who bonded him out. Like, we all had an agreement. Like, Caitlynne told me, like, his parents weren't going to get him out. Like, no one was going to get him out. They knew that he was going to, like, that he had threatened to kill her. Like, he was, you know, had already almost killed her, and he needed to be locked up. So no one was going to bond him out. Well, it wasn't until the next day, August 4th, on the TV that I saw the Pasadena Chief Police, Josh Bruger, on the TV at a press conference, pointing the finger at Harris County for my daughter's death. And I was like, what? And it was because he was given another PR bond. He was given another slap on the wrist after killing a cat and assaulting my daughter. He was let out of jail, basically on a get out of jail free card, not held accountable, just let out hours later. I mean, like 19 hours later. I mean, not long at all. And just to go murder her. No protection.
Now, this is the part where I got pissed, because I hate when the system breaks down. We come on these shows and we tell people that when you feel threatened, you call the police. You call the hotline. We do that every time we do these types of shows. So to see that the system failed you really got me so angry that I just know in my heart, this isn't it. We have to keep fighting, because they failed you. They gave him a PR bond. He already had one before. Now, Let me just, for my viewers, let me just share with you guys a PR bond. I'm going to read it to you exactly as it is. A PR bond is granted by a court judge once the review of an individual's case and criminal history has been completed during a pretrial hearing. Now, they say that to get this bond, the judge, I want you guys to pay close attention to this because I just read this like 500 times today. The judge has determined that individual does not pose a threat to the community. Now, Melanie, he was already arrested a few days ago because he assaulted her and killed the cat.
Right.
And they did not feel that that was a threat.
Exactly.
Give me a break.
I know. And that's what, and people will argue all day about bond reform and say, that they're for bond reform. And I'm not saying I'm against bond reform, but bond reform, like you just read, it's the way that the PRs are supposed to be given out. It's not supposed to be for violent criminals. It's not supposed to be given out for people like Alex. That's
right.
not the way it was originally set up. It was supposed to be for the nonviolent, petty, small crimes. Well, this was no petty, small crime. And they absolutely failed her. I mean, they failed her. They failed Alexis. They basically like slammed the door in her face. Like, oh, like here. And even the police, the police were upset about it. I mean, that like I said, the police chief is the one that did the press conference because they're out there risking their lives and they're out there, they just saw Caitlynne and told her, you know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly
supporting her, arresting him and having him arrested. And they're thinking he's going to go and spend time in jail. And then these magistrates just let him go.
Because the judge is the only one that can issue this PR bond, correct?
Well, it was a magistrate. It was a magistrate that actually gave him the PR bond.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the DA even said the DA tried to do a $50,000 bond on him, and then the magistrate came and revoked it and gave him a PR bond, which is zero money. So and it was like at 3 or 4 in the morning from what I've been told. And it just made me feel like there was no humanity. It made me feel like there was a total disregard for my daughter, for just anyone. I'm thinking, where is your sense of humanity? Where is your there's no protection for the victims. It's like you're protecting the criminals. And
this is hard to hear. This is so incredibly hard to hear. Now, are we going after this judge? Are we looking at a civil suit against this county? What county is this?
Yes, Harris County. Now,
Harris County.
Yes, I have not filed yet, but I do have a lawyer, and we are waiting. I have to wait to file the suit for the custody case to be. We have an ongoing custody case with his parents and myself. His parents have been fighting me for custody since the very beginning, and I don't talk about that for obvious reasons. But we have an open custody case, and we're waiting to file the civil suit until the custody case is over with. Okay.
So that's good.
For legal reasons,
Yes, absolutely. Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. We want to hear about that as that progress. We would love for you to come back and share with us what's going on with that, because I think that's very important, because someone has to be accountable. This can't just be like, oh, I made a mistake, I'm sorry. No, that's not good enough. That's not good enough for Caitlynne. We need to make sure he's held accountable so that this does not happen. Now, tell us about Caitlynne's law. How did all of that come into play?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, Caitlynne's law, I knew. When this happened, I knew. I had no idea what a PR bond was. I was like everybody else. Like, most of the population has no idea this is even happening. Right. And up to that point, I had no idea how crooked and how broken our system was. And I had, been begging her to press charges. And I felt like, here, I'm her mom. And I feel like she finally did it. And he goes and they let him out to kill her. And so I had to deal with that and, wrestle with that for a while. But yeah, I just knew. I knew that I needed to make it very, make other people aware of what's happening, and so that we can stop, voting these judges, into office that are making these decisions like this. And so I just made it my mission. I decided to turn my grief into a passion, a mission to make a
Yes.
change, because I
Yes.
know that there are so many women like Caitlynne and men that are in domestically
Yes.
abusive relationships, and that they're gonna, like you said, they call the police, they think they're being protected, and it's just they're not being, then it's ultimately Caitlynne wasn't protected, and it's happening again and again and again, just since I started this mission, which was right after her murder. So it's been almost a year and a half. Probably a year and 4 months that I really started, doing these interviews and doing podcasts and radio stations. I did the Wall Street Journal, which was one of the biggest things I did. Then I did Dr. Oz, Nancy Grace. So I've done a lot of bigger things, but all behind the scenes too. I've been doing a lot of little things, and just, I don't ever say no to any interview or anything.
Right.
To speak about it, because it's like, and the more that we can share the story, the more aware that the public is as to what is really going on, and that this can happen to anyone. If it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone.
Right.
And I often say, like, well, when is enough enough? Is it going to be when that judge's daughter is brutally murdered? Is it going to be when that magistrate's, it's like, how in your face does it have to be? And it's from Caitlynne's death, we have counted in the past, like a little over a year, 90 people have been murdered because of these repeat felony bonds, and these PR bonds and felony bonds, low felony bonds. People are just getting out, and repetitive criminals. So what Caitlynne's law does is, and I'm so excited, because just a few days ago, we actually got Senator Betancourt to carry the bill. So that's been, I felt like, whoa, this hard work's paying off,
Yes.
because you have to have someone carry it, and so
that's right.
So when he made the announcement, we had a big press conference that he's going to carry the law, and it basically, it does exactly what would have saved Caitlynne's life, and it's saying that once you're given one PR bond, when you go and commit another crime, you're not going to get another PR bond, and then once you reach 3 felonies, you have to get a minimum of a $10,000 bond. Because what's happening is these criminals are committing felonies, and they're getting these like low, ridiculous, like, if it's not a PR bond, it might be a $50 bond or a $100 bond. I look at it like the criminals are laughing at Harris County's face. Like they're like, why would they stop committing crimes when they know there's no punishment?
Point.
And it's putting the public at risk. It's putting the policemen at risk. It's putting, everyone at risk. And people are getting murdered. Like Caitlynne, like I said, 90 people. Andy Kahn with Crime Stoppers. He's been amazing. He's been a huge advocate with me. And he is he's every day almost. It's so sad that I can relate to these individuals and these families, but
I know
it's happening over and over and over and over. And it has to stop. And it's sad that Caitlynne has to be that face, and that Caitlinne's story has to be that story. But it's like, if we can save one life, then it's amen. She did not die in vain. It was
absolutely.
Her story is, I always tell people, her story is not over. Her story is going to live on forever with Caitlynne's law, and her baby, of course. She lives on through her baby.
Absolutely.
Her baby is Alexis is her made over. She's 2 now, and I just look at her, and she's her mama. That's all mama right there.
Yeah. Well, watching the broadcast, I'm so excited that you came on to tell your story, because one of the reasons that I started these domestic violence survival situation stories is because of what happened to my cousin. You and I talked a little bit in the back studio about it, because our family wants to help as well, because there's so many people like Caitlynne, like my cousin, who try to help these men, think they're going to change, think that they can be the savior for them, and it backfires. And Caitlynne and my cousin, they're both examples of what can happen if you don't handle this the right way. So I don't want to assume that everyone watching this broadcast just knows what to do. So you are a mom. You lost your daughter to domestic violence. And so but some of those young ladies are watching this broadcast. I want you to speak to them about where they are and what it's going to take for them not to end up like Caitlynne?
Oh, well, I first and foremost would say that feeling that you have, that feeling that anybody in a domestic abuse situation, that voice in the back of your head that you are pushing and that you're pushing, that's telling you that you need to get out, that you're not safe, that and then you've got to listen to that. That is God. That is your intuition, is God speaking to you, telling you that you're worth more, you're loved, you're beautiful, you don't deserve this. This isn't love. Love does not hurt. Love does not take. It's manipulation. I mean, that's what these domestic abuse people do. They manipulate, they control, they reel you in, they promise you the world. And, it usually, they say when it's too good to be true, it usually is.
It usually is.
And that's what and that is very, and, it happens with this, these domestic abuse situations. And so I would say, trust your gut, trust that discernment that God gives us, and get out. I mean, and there are so many different outlets to do that. Thank God Caitlynne did have those domestic abuse groups that she talked to, and she told, there's pictures there. I mean, there's all kind of, like, it shows the trail of the abuse. So don't keep it silent. I mean, tell someone, there's groups out there, there's support groups, there's churches, there's shelters that will hide you. I found out after Caitlynne was murdered, I had a friend of mine, after she was murdered, say Caitlynne actually had called her to see if she could come stay at her house. I mean, she was trying to find an escape. She was trying to find somewhere other than my house to hide. And she did. But ultimately he killed her before she could finish it out. But I'm saying, get an escape plan, talk to someone. There's just so many things you can do, but more than anything, just know that, God has you, and there is bigger and better things out there. And you don't deserve this. You do not deserve to be treated with the ultimate respect that God made you into, that we all should be treated like queens. And I just
Amen.
think that a man should not disrespect you in any way, shape, or form, not just physical. There's emotional abuse, there's verbal abuse. You don't deserve it, and you have to get out. You have to get out.
They don't
change. They don't change.
That's right.
It always gets worse.
Well, tell me this. How are you doing? I mean, how are you really doing? How do you cope from day to day when you wake up and you see this beautiful baby, but her mama is not there? How do you feel?
Oh, I wake up and she's our joy. I mean, she is our heart. I mean, Alexis and Madison, of course, my other
Right.
princess. They keep me going, and people are like, "You're so strong. How do you do it?" And I'll be honest, it's all God. I mean, it is my faith. It is my, my circle of my amazing family, my friends, my church family. I mean, I don't know what I would do. I mean, I don't know how I've often cried and told people, I don't know how people that don't believe can go through this kind of grief. Because if I didn't have God, if I didn't have him to lean on and him to carry this burden for me, I wouldn't make it. And I never thought before this happened, that was my biggest fear. Every second of every day leading up to her murder, my biggest fear was losing her and thinking I could not go on if I had lost one of my children. I never thought I'd have the strength to go on after losing one of my children. But it's amazing the strength that you find,
yes,
that you are able to pull from,
yes,
just your faith, and knowing that God, you're not supposed to do life alone, and God's always there, and he's just and he has carried me through all of this. I mean, absolutely I have my horrible days, and absolutely I have my moments where I just want to cry and just scream at God. And I mean, I'm human,
of course,
but Caitlynne is all around me, and she sends me signs all the time. Sometimes if I were to tell people, they probably think I'm a little cuckoo.
I would not think you're cuckoo. I would not.
I swear, it's like sometimes
people think I'm cuckoo too, so we're in the cuckoo club.
Yeah. So I mean, I tell Madison all the time, I'm like, oh, that's your sister. Like, oh, look, there's your sister. Like, just like she sends me pennies. Like she, just weird, those songs that come on at certain times. I mean, certain occasions, just little things happen. But it more than anything, when I need her the most, like when I'm at my, that pain is just unbearable, I just feel like she embraces me and she just whispers in my ear how much she loves me, how proud she is of me. I find when I tell you she was the sweetest person, the most forgiving person, she was the most loving daughter. Like she would write little notes, she always would write, like whether it was a Facebook post or she would write me letters. I find them all the time, and they're the sweetest. I mean, I have one framed next to my bedside because it's just, she would tell me how beautiful I was, how much she loved me, what a wonderful human being I was. She would just go on, and she just knew how to uplift me, and she was just amazing. And so I feel that, I find those little notes when I need them the most. She's always telling me how much she loves me and how proud she is of me. And that's what gets me going. I mean, it keeps me, I feel like God and her just carry me through my day. And Madison has been just amazing. I mean, Madison, people think I'm strong. She's over here doing poses now that I said that, but
she's incredible. I absolutely love her. She's incredible.
There she is. But she's so strong. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, how strong she's been through all this. I mean, this was, she was 12 when this happened. I mean, she was literally, we were planning Caitlynne's gender reveal and her 13th birthday at the same time. Like, it was two huge things we were planning when this happened. And I mean, her sister and me were just on the phone, Caitlynne and me, talking about, oh my gosh, your sister's going to be a teenager, And
now 14.
And now she's 14, 14 going on 15.
Yeah.
The day after she turned 14, she was talking, saying she was 15.
Yeah.
But anyway, so but yeah, that's how I get through it. She just sends me signs all the time.
Well, I believe that she is with you. I just feel such brightness and just so light talking to you. But I want to say this to you. You did everything you could, Mama. You did everything you could. I don't want you to ever allow the enemy to make you feel that you missed something, or you missed an assignment, or you did this, or no. You did everything in your power. You tried, you prayed, and you know that God did not abandon you. You know that. And your faith has gotten you, and it's going to get you through all of the dark days. And I am so proud of you, because you could have gone home, gotten in the bed, said, let everybody figure out their own stuff. I am just sad, but you didn't do that. You allow God to use you to help other people. Caitlynne's law is now picked up by the Senator Betancourt, and that he now has that. And look at God. That's just all we can say. Look at God. But absolutely. I am just so proud of you, and I just hope that you continue to have bright days, and just know that God is with you. He will not leave you nor forsake you. Absolutely. And I know that you know that. Mm-hmm. But I also want to let you know that the Ella Johnson Show, we would like to do something for Alexis. So you and I will definitely stay in touch, so we can do some things for her. When is her birthday?
November.
Oh,
29th.
so we have a long way to go for her birthday. But we'll come up with something, because we just want to be a blessing to her and you guys. But definitely her, because we have to. It's like, have you ever heard that saying? It takes a village.
Oh, yes, I've said that to many people. I don't know what I would do without my parents and my friends.
Yes. Well, those of us that are watching, I'm going to share with you some of the comments that we have here. Lots of people have tuned in and have given some comments. Lisa Hamilton said, I pray some young girls are watching and realize that mamas are not trying to hurt you. We love you and can see the outside picture. And I think that's exactly what you were just saying. Because sometimes, we've all been teenagers, and we didn't believe mom, and we didn't think mom knew what she was talking about either. Right. So for those of you that are like that were like me, they do know. Yes. And then, different people were just asking different questions, but you can definitely go on there Carla, who was on our show last night, she said, for a bond to be granted is based on three terms. One, the potential to flee, potential to harm or harass victim, or potential to commit another crime. He had all of those. Yes, I agree, Carla. He did. The system, there's no doubt, the system definitely failed. But we're going to move from there and use it, to make it better for everybody else. But I am definitely with you about going after and making them accountable. I'm very glad that you're doing that. I'm happy for you with Caitlynne's Law. You look great. And it seems like you are just really holding it together. Is there anything else that you would like to say before we get out of here? Now, we're going to show the video, but we're going to show it on our way out because, I just wanted you to just talk. We have the video here, but I said, no, I want her to talk because people really need to hear what you had to say. But we're going to end the show with the video and then the show will end. So is there anything else you'd like to say to anybody that's watching?
I think I've covered it all. Other than Caitlynne's Law, we do a Facebook page, Caitlynne's Law, and it's CAITLYNNES, and it's Caitlynne's Law. And just to, you can go on and like the page, and we keep everything up to date. And we also have a Caitlyn'sLaw.org website. So just visit those two things and just spread the word. It's just, it's being carried. We just got to get it passed. So.
Well, we are praying with you, and we're going to celebrate with you when that happens. So make sure to keep us posted. And I'm just so excited. Thank you all so much for. Thank you, Caitlynne. I don't want to forget about that. Thank you so much for being a guest tonight and sharing your story. But I want to thank those of you that are watching. Thank you for tuning in from YouTube. Thank you for tuning in from Facebook. Please share. Just the button right there. Just hit share. Very easy. Because you never know who's on your page that needs to hear this story so that they can make some changes. I believe that you not only changed lives tonight, dear, but I think you changed some minds too. And that's what this show is all about. But guys, I want you to tune in with me tomorrow night. We have another show. Tomorrow night, this is really good for people that live in Florida. There are a few things that are going on in Florida that affect our communities that you guys definitely need to tune in. For one, there's a senator who is trying to get a law passed so that people who are felons will not be able to take advantage of the increased minimum wage. Of course, we voted in increased minimum wage here in Florida, and we have trying to make sure that felons don't take part in that. We're going to talk about all of that tomorrow night right here on the Ella Johnson Show. So let me do this so I can set this up, because I want people to watch the video. And then once the video is over, then the show will end. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Good deal. All right. So let me get this going here so we can Now
I feel skin deep. Count on the makeup to cover it all. Crying myself to sleep, 'cause I cannot keep their attention. Thought I could be strong, but it's killing me. Someone hear my cries. I'm dying for new life. I wanna be beautiful.
Never got the chance to say I love you one last time. I know in another life you'll take my hand for a dance, and another time you've been by her side since y'all were kids. We know that you're forever. Without you here, the world seems so much smaller. Your time is wasn't done when your life had just begun. Your family is fighting for you, and your baby girl, she looks just like you. We're still blue, but we're doing everything we can do. This world is where you belong. Sing us another song. Give us a sign that you're with us, and everything will be alright. 'Cause you're the sun and the star that can only shine bright. Oh, Rose, gone too soon. Oh, Rose, wish there was more we could do. Oh, Rose, gone too soon. So take our hand for another song to sing. So Rose, please come.
You know what else I hate? Bitch. Okay? I don't like it whenever people are like talking to you and be like, hey, how are you? They like spit like flying out their freaking mouth and you're like, get off me. Okay. And I also hate, I hate not dyeing my hair for long periods of time. And sorry. But anyways, the whole point of me making this video was that I could show you my hair, and so I could say that I love you guys. So, bye.
So that was a beautiful video. Chamber Gates is the artist that was in the song, Chamber Gates, and he made that song especially for her. How did that feel, seeing that?
I love that because you know that's Caitlynne singing in it. Like that's Caitlynne singing in the beginning and her talking at the end, and that's actually Chamber Gates is one of her best friends, Devin Moore. That's his artist name, and so he did this as a tribute to her, and it just I watch it all the time. Like I made the slideshow to the song, and I love it. It's my I love that we have that, you know, for, you know, to show Alexis and to have for Alexis and her kids. And we'll always have that. And we just cherish it. And it just means so, so much. So I'm always emotional when I watch it, but I love hearing her voice. I miss
I
her
know.
voice.
I can imagine. I can imagine she's always with you. Well, we could not get out of this broadcast without sharing and bringing Caitlynne to the show as well, because we are, yeah, we're talking about her. A few more minutes, doesn't matter. It's worth it, because we just want to change lives, change minds, and hope that people watching this broadcast will see how important it is to get out before it's too late. Caitlynne did not die for nothing. Thank you for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show.
Thank you for having me.
Good night. You're welcome.
Good night.
Good night.